The Australian Ghost Whisperer with Caterina Ligato and James Jennings. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Australian Ghost Whisperer. Hello Caterina Ligato, how's your week been?
Hello, James. My week's been good.
Excellent, lovely to see you, and lovely to see a guest on this week's episode. We have Patrick, who has been a client of yours for a long time and has some wild stories to tell. Hello Patrick.
Hello, James.
Thank you, Patrick, for coming on. Patrick's incredibly sensitive, and my gosh, we have some amazing experiences to talk about today with Patrick.
I can't wait to hear them. Well,
let's start with your latest trip to Vietnam.
Okay, not to be repeated.
Not to be
We've been there twice, and I thought,
sorry,
on the way back,
and I'm going to try not to laugf, but guys, I've known Patrick so long.
I'll try and keep it serious.
Yeah, he's been through so much, this poor man.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, being sensitive is not a blessing, I can tell you that. All right.
Okay, let's tell us about your trip, Patrick.
All right. I have this bunch of guys that we go away on motorbike trips together. We've been to New Zealand, we've been to Vietnam before, as 5 years ago, and we travel up and down through, and we've known each other for like such a long time. We used to play football together. Now we just basically catch up every week. We go to the pub, have a beer, then go to a restaurant and just, drink red wine and talk rubbish. And so this one here, I organised the last one to New Zealand, which was in November 22, and that was brilliant. We had a great time. We rode around the east coast of the North Island. And one of the guys said, I wouldn't mind going back to Vietnam. And I thought, yeah, okay. So the last time we went, it was the north part of Vietnam. We went to Da Nang and then basically out through the mountains and back to the coast to a place called Dong Hoi, and then back down to Da Nang, and then caught a train to Hanoi. So we're away about 10 days. With this one, it was Saigon, or what is Ho Chi Minh City these days. Saigon for a few days, well, an overnighter, and then jumped on the motorbikes, picked up the motorbikes, and then rode up to a place called Dalat, which is up in the mountains. And that's where the French basically established a town because it was high in the mountains and it was cool away from the humidity of the coast. So there, and then from there to the coast, a place called Champa Resort, and then back down to Saigon. And one of the guys said, oh, look, I really like to go to this museum, which was the war museum that was set up by the Viet Cong, basically just, showing all the stuff. So we went there, and outside they've got basically helicopters and tanks and artillery and stuff, mainly US Army stuff that had been captured. It was just sitting outside. And there was the main museum itself would be maybe 3 floors high, but off to the left, there was this area called the tiger cages. And I thought, oh, I'll go and have a look at that. And the images in there and they had tiger cages that they used to put the prisoners in, and they were like no bigger than a blanket box and all barbed wire. And they would have the prisoners out there in the sun day and night.
Oh my God.
I went, oh, that's terrible.
That's horrendous.
Horrific, yeah. And then inside, there were photographs and then stories about different prisoners and what happened to them, and photographs of them like being mutilated, essentially. And that was when I thought, oh God, I don't feel good, something. And I've experienced this feeling before where my solar plexus just cramps, my lower back and sacrum just lock, and I can feel like my head feels like it's being crushed inwards.
And I guess you didn't think of using any projection.
Didn't even occur to me.
No.
Yeah. And so we were there probably another hour or two. I went up and looked at, there were a lot of photographs of oh, just terrible photographs of people being dismembered and the stories and talking about the massacres, and it was pretty
Mm.
horrible actually.
Yeah, you walked into an energetic pit of
Oh yeah, it was
darkness and
very much so.
suffering and torture.
Yeah, all of
Absolutely,
that,
yes.
all of that. So then we left there, and by this stage, I was feeling pretty uncomfortable. And I thought, okay, I knew something had happened, and I thought, oh, let's just see if it wears off. No, it didn't. So then the next day, we were due to go um, to Cambodia. So we got we were in a van with a driver to a place called Dao Chok, and from there you catch a boat up to Phnom Penh, which is about a 6 hour trip. So we're in Phnom Penh, we check into our hotel, and we're there two nights, I think. Yeah. So the first day we're there, full day, one of the guys said, "Oh, I'd really like to go to the killing fields and the genocide museum." And I'm going, "Yeah, I don't really want to go, but I'll just tag along." So we get picked up in this bus, and the guy was telling us the story. He was a Buddhist, and he was basically telling how all his family had been killed, etc., etc.
Mm.
And apparently, Pol Pot, there were 8 million people in Cambodia, 3 million were slaughtered. So more than a third of the population were slaughtered by this guy Pol Pot, who thought everyone was a well, he was psychotic, obviously. So every third person in Cambodia had been slaughtered by this Pol Pot regime back in I think it was the late 70s. Anyway, we go to the killing fields, and there's they take you round, and there's all of these basically they look like craters where they'd buried like thousands of people, and from that areas you could still see bits of fabric coming up through the soil when it rains, which were the
Oh,
clothes of the people who'd been slaughtered from
that's so,
from age naught to whatever.
oh, how horrific. Yeah, I feel the energy as you're speaking
Oh, it was
about
just,
it.
yeah. And
So
so we walked around
distressing.
that, and then we went to this. It was kind of a mausoleum that inside there were all these skulls, which on different levels, all the way up, like
Oh,
7 story. And this one was like these ones were aged 1 to 9. The next one was like 10 to 20,
oh,
all around this thing. It's like thousands of these skulls, like
oh
thousands.
my gosh.
And then from
Yeah.
there, that was it. Like that was probably. And then they said, "Oh, we're going to go to the Genocide Museum," which was right in the center of Phnom Penh. And like I was telling you, this thing with the tiger cages. Oh, sorry, no, that was Vietnam. That was Vietnam. The Genocide Museum was actually a school that had been converted to um, dungeons and torture chambers, and they had the photographs of the sort of things they would do to get people to talk. Obviously,
Mm.
most of them are innocent,
No
and
offense, Patrick, but this kind of sounds like the worst holiday of all time so far.
It sounds like a nightmare. Hey.
well, funny people had asked me. They said, "Oh, did you have a relaxing holiday?" I went,
No,
"It was not relaxing." I said, "The
no.
worst thing was
Sounds
about
awful.
40 degrees and 100% humidity." I said,
Oh,
every time you get on the road on your motorbike, you have got to be 110% focused, because you'll be riding along, and coming towards you will be a bus on your side of the road tooting you to get out of the way. So you have to go off to the gutter. So you've got to be 100% there. And the roads, imagine Parramatta Road on steroids
oh,
times 10. It's
oh,
just off the charts.
oh my gosh.
Off the
Oh,
charts.
Patrick, what made you want to go on? What inspired you to
Well,
go on
I
a
was just,
holiday?
Well,
we each of us plan our next trip. So I planned the New Zealand one, and this
Oh,
other guy, Chris, who liked Vietnam, he said, "Oh, I'll do Vietnam next time." And I'm going, "Well, uh, yeah, okay." So you just go along. That's what one of the guys organised. So where we go next time, I don't know. But anyway,
oh.
so yeah, got back from there. I was pretty whacked actually.
Well,
Yeah,
you would have absorbed all that energy because I know you're so sensitive from
yeah,
all our past shenanigans that
I know,
we've
absolutely.
had together with you. you're always drawing in these energies,
Well,
and
it had
you're
been
so
so
sen
long since I'd had that
that's
kind of
yeah,
thing.
well, we got you right, because
Yeah,
Patrick, you had a series of healings, and we got your
true.
energy stronger and taught you protection. But environments like that are just,
I think,
incredibly overwhelming, first
yeah,
of all, emotionally and
true.
psychologically, just
Yeah.
looking at all that
Oh,
horrific
totally.
skulls and little children.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. It was
I
just
would even
horrific.
find it difficult to be able to hold some sort of psychic protection over myself, because you become so emotional
Mm.
Well,
looking at all of
it's
that.
very graphic,
Yeah,
and it's
especially with the
probably
children.
the worst thing you'll ever see is these
Oh,
like skulls up to the
oh my Lord. Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
So,
Yeah.
Patrick, saying that always been quite sensitive, was there a period in your life where you started realizing that you could actually feel or see things that other people couldn't? Were you starting, like, in terms of
Well,
picking up on spirits?
I remember I bought this when I was telling you before about I bought this apartment in Epping,
Yeah.
right? And I was living there, and I could never relax. I'd go there and I'd think something's wrong. You know, I could feel these symptoms. I call them symptoms, like the tightness in my skull and everything. And at that time, I was going out with, remember Crazy Caroline? I was going with her, and she found you out. And she said, "Oh, I've got this person who might be
That's
able to
how
help."
we met.
That's
That's how I
correct.
met Pat.
So you came and did a clearing, and that was fine. I mean, I ended up moving out of there anyway and then selling it eventually. And so that was my very first instance of being sensitive to an environment. But prior to that, because I've practiced homeopathy for many years, and it got to the stage where I couldn't handle the remedies, even if I made them for someone else, because I'd get that sort of reaction. I was reacting to the energy of the remedy. So what I started to do was to get the receptionists to make the remedies and give them to the patients, so I wouldn't be anywhere near them, and send them out to patients via mail. So that was a way of me avoiding that reaction, which would happen I was happening pretty much every day, because I was constantly making the remedies, getting this reaction. So that first started probably in about 1984, maybe three, four. Yeah, that I first noticed that I'm getting a reaction to these homeopathic remedies because I'm making them day in, and I think, oh, I'm
Well,
just
they're
becoming.
energetic remedies,
They
yeah.
are
So you were
absolutely,
picking up. That's how you've always been so ultra sensitive.
yeah. So I thought, okay, well, I'll avoid doing that, which I still do to this day. But then
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sensitivity to a particular place started with that apartment in Epping, and that's when I first noticed, okay, I'm getting this just from this place. So, and there's been places since then that I've gone into and thought, I got a bad feeling here. I got to get out of here. And whenever I've bought somewhere, I've always got you to come and do a clearing because,
And then things settled for you
oh, like I'm here now in Thornlea. You cleared this place.
a
It's
long time ago.
5 years, almost five
Yeah.
years. It's great. It feels
Yeah, I
it's
can
mine.
feel the vibe behind you.
It's
Yeah, it feels
totally my
nice.
home. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, you did my place in Manly as well,
Yeah,
and
that's right. Because you've moved
and
around a bit. But I
well, I
remember
never
that
actually I only lived in there very briefly, but I rented it out, and now then my son lived there, and then he's moved to Perth, and now it's just rented out to a couple, and they've emailed me and said we love living in this place. It's got a really great feel to it. Blah blah
because
blah.
yeah, I cleared it for you.
And the one in the old wooden weatherboard place, you did that too. It was on the
Where
corner
was that?
in Beecroft,
Yeah,
on the corner of
in
Beecroft
Beacon.
Road,
Yes, yes.
and
That
and
was
I,
really heavy too. You were
it was.
sharing with somebody
No,
in
I
that.
wasn't. I was
Oh,
sharing with
what?
my daughter, but
Oh,
an
okay.
old lady had lived there, and she had died there. She was in
Yeah,
here.
I
She lived there her
forget
whole
now.
life.
I do so many clips. Yeah,
Yeah,
look, yeah, that's the thing. It's about transforming the energy, and at least you
yeah,
have some
exactly.
peace when you go home. But
Yeah.
yes,
So when we moved to this new office back in February, I didn't think anything of it, but after a while, I thought, it's not heavy. It's just
Mm,
I feel uncomfortable. And when I go home, it lifts. But then I got to go back the next
mm.
day and work again, and
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah.
So that was happening a bit before we went to Vietnam, but Vietnam really, you know,
Knocked you for a nine. So
totally.
continue. So then you came home from Vietnam and you
Okay.
felt
And I thought, went back into work,
something was attached
and
to
I thought,
you.
yeah, I called you and you cleared that, and that's fine. That
I
was
cleared
last
it
Tuesday.
distantly, yeah, because I felt like it couldn't wait. And it was like this dark thing. You know, it really was the weirdest thing that I cleared from you. You know, when you see those, in cartoons where there's like a ghost and they've got
Yeah.
like something, a figure, like almost with a sheet thrown over it.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
this was like the weirdest thing. It had like this little head. It was
Okay.
all black and it had like little hands, but it was growling at me
Oh,
and it
really?
was attached to along your spine.
Yeah. Okay.
Did
Well,
you
that
have
explains.
backache?
Oh, it was killing me. It was
Yeah,
so
bingo.
bad.
And honestly, we never even spoke about the clearing the details until now. It was like it was attached along your spine, this black,
Okay.
really dark, ugly, weird looking thing. It had no shape. It was like it was a sheet with two little
Well, it's
hands,
funny
but it
when I was in the
was
tiger
like this
cages.
yucky thing. Yeah.
When I was in the tiger cages, the first thing I felt was my back just absolutely seized.
No,
That
it
was the
had
very first
attached.
thing.
It had attached itself, I think, into your base chakra and then
Yes.
along the rest of your spine. And it was like it was kind of stuck here at the back of your skull. And it was just drawing on your energy. But I also wondered if you were having some weird thoughts because it was like trying to project into your mind.
Okay.
Do
Um,
you remember if you had any unusual? You may not have, but
well, I felt out of sorts because I was feeling
yeah,
so uncomfortable. Um, but whether they were weird or not, I can't remember actually. It was
yeah.
all, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But I
Yeah.
certainly
So
felt um overwhelmed by what I was seeing.
I had
And
to almost like peel it off your. I obviously had to put a lot of protection around you and me,
yeah,
but then it was like I had to almost like peel it as I
okay,
went up along your spine, like peel it off, like
right.
sticky tape
Yeah,
somehow.
okay,
And then it's like with the light, it just kind of disintegrated and
okay,
obviously vanished.
right.
And I just felt like, yeah, so then I shut you down, put protection. And the funny thing, James, is that I didn't tell Patrick that I did that
Mm,
because I've known Patrick for so long, and I knew when he said he'd been in Vietnam, I had a vibe and there was something,
yeah,
and I'd booked him in, and it wasn't kind of there was going to be a bit of a wait for him to
yeah,
see me,
true.
so it was like I'm meditating because I've known Patrick for so long, and my guides went like we need to clear him now. He can't
Mm.
wait for that day. So I said, yeah, let's do it. And literally the next day, was it the next day
Yeah,
or
next
that
day, yeah,
morning? Yeah, Patrick's like, did you clear me? Because it's gone. And I'm like, yeah, I actually have.
yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
was just I was actually
You
sitting on the
felt it,
computer
but that's
that
how
night,
sensitive.
and I suddenly felt this sense of warmth,
Yeah.
um, and like a feeling of everything releasing and relaxing,
Yeah,
my
I'm
back
glad.
pain disappearing, my solar plexus releasing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's gone.
I was
Okay,
so glad. Yeah, I
yeah.
couldn't make you, I wasn't going to make you wait weeks with all that horrible stuff attached to you. But yeah, it was just a really ugly, very dark being that I feel was obviously I feel you bought it from Vietnam because it's
Well,
almost like
that's where it happened.
yeah, it had all this energy of it was like it was looshing off all the energy of torture that had
Right.
happened there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I reckon that there's like a lot of them there, and they
I
probably
would say
these
the place is full of it.
full of demons and dark entities that kind of attach to people, tourists that go there, you know, that don't know and don't realize and probably go home going, oh gosh, I've got this backache, I don't feel well, my
Yeah.
energies, yeah, all there. That's why I always say to people, places like that you're best to avoid
Well, if I had
Unless
known,
you're ready to get a good clearing as soon as you get
well,
home.
if I had known that's what I was going to encounter, I would have said no, I'm not going. But
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had no idea.
You really, Patrick.
So,
Mm.
Kat, I've got a question for you. So, I was reading something recently about, again, I don't know where the source of this story comes from, so don't attack me if you're watching this, people, and are asking me to cite my sources. But I did read this story that in Vietnam, during the Vietnam War, the US soldiers were given a very early version of like infrared goggles,
Right.
and they were freaked out because they could see
The
these
entity.
beings, like these
Oh,
demonic
okay.
beings with the infrared goggles that were
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
drawn to all the murder and killing and all the stuff that was going on, and they were just like, so I don't. Does it, I mean, talking about Vietnam and all this stuff, do demonic entities go to places like that, like
Yeah,
where?
absolutely. Because they need a certain amount of energy that they need to absorb on a daily basis for it's like their food, their fuel, if you like. So they will always go into, enter into these environments. Plus, where you've got all these poor people that were suffering and tortured and obviously the energy in that place, the frequency gets lower and lower,
Mm.
and it becomes this environment to that can contain all these dark demons that
Yeah.
it's a really becomes this dark ludicrous kind of horrible space
Mm.
where they
Yeah.
all come together and they just feast off all the energy of the suffering. They just
Right.
loosh off all that
Yeah.
suffering. And then, I think they will also target people that, like someone like Patrick, who is full of light. I mean, he heals people on a daily basis. He's a beautiful osteopath. So there's a lovely healing energy with Patrick also. So that he'd be a lovely battery for them, if you like.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they would have kind of saw him coming with all that beautiful healing light and thought, wow, I'm going to go for this,
Yeah,
Mm. Yeah.
and attached itself thinking, yeah, I'm going to feast off. So
Yeah.
had we not removed that, you would have eventually become more and more tired,
True.
eventually perhaps very, very sick.
Yeah.
um yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah. Absolutely. No question.
yeah, you
Yeah.
won't have energy to go to work. You don't have energy to get up in the morning. I've seen it with people.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah, it can knock you for a nine. But people
Mm.
have come to me where they felt like they were dying because they'd had this entity attached to them for so long.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then once you release it, I mean, it's immediately they feel better, but they sort of go over the next few weeks, their energy comes back. But that was what would have happened to you. But it really was just, it didn't want to shift. Hey, so it's like I took
No,
a
true.
lot of, yeah.
we'll be back after this quick break. Hello everyone, James and Caterina from the Australian Ghost Whisperer here. Just letting you know that we are now doing house and business clearings. We've been having a lot of inquiries, so I thought we would let you know. If you don't know what that is, Caterina, please explain.
Yeah, so a house or business may be haunted or have stagnant negative energy from previous owners. Maybe someone's put the evil eye on you, or you're dealing with psychic attacks, curses, or demonic interference, which may cause physical and spiritual illness to you and your family members. I'd like to also let you know that I've written 2 books on the paranormal, and I'm highly experienced in the process of cleansing and clearing these disturbing interferences and turn your place into a loving, light-filled sanctuary.
Caterina is also available for healings and exorcisms if that is something you may need. And if you would like to read some testimonials from Caterina's satisfied clients, you can do so at her website, which is caterinaligato.com.au. We also did a video recently where we cleared a house of spirits, and we have a response from the very happy owner. We'll put that in the comments below so you can see a link to that. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can do so via email, which is australianghostwhisperer@gmail.com, or you can give us a call on 0404 258 949. And we are based in Sydney, but we're also happy to travel interstate, and we are absolutely happy to help.
Happy to help, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
So yeah, these environments tend to become, yeah, like a real zone for all these dark entities, because wherever there's a great deal of sorrow and grief and torture and fear, like all of that energy is still resonating in the atmosphere.
Yeah, true.
And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's like bringing in these entities. It's like they can feel, they can sense all the torture energy in the atmosphere. And so they're drawn to it. That's the
right.
type of environment they want. You know, they're not going to go to an environment that's peaceful and calm and beautiful, full of light. They need these types of environments, so they make everything even more intensive and more
true. I agree.
more horrific. Yeah.
So being sensitive, Patrick, have you found that a lot in your life where you have attracted, entities or spirits that are either going to attach themselves to you or enter your home? Is it like a common occurrence for you?
Well, these days, much less, which is why when we went to Vietnam, I had no idea, because it's been quite a while since I'd had anything like that happen. But in the past, when I've like moved into a house, I've generally got Caterina to clear it, because I've had that experience before, and this one was quite strong. I've had others in the past that were stronger, going way back. I remember, this is probably back in the early 90s. I was doing a psychic development course, and there was a woman there who was a therapist. And she said, "Oh, you're an osteopath." I went, "Yeah, yeah." She said, "Well, do you want to swap some treatments?" I went, "Sure." Okay. So I treated her, and then she treated me. And during what she did, I don't think she did it intentionally, but I think, somehow opened me up in some way, that something came in, and I was fucked.
Yeah, that's a transference of energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think something was attached to her. So when
Okay.
she did her treatment on you,
Yeah.
because obviously you're having a treatment, you're relaxed, you're open, you're receptive. So you were open to receiving her
Yeah.
treatment and everything else that came along with her.
Yeah. It took me a long time to get
I
rid of
bet.
that. Yeah, a long time.
So you
And I
took
ended up
on
going,
one, and she probably felt better because she'd released
yeah,
whatever
totally.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. So I ended up going to someone I knew who was, I suppose, spiritual, but also a homeopath, and was aware of those sort of things. And I said to him, "Look, this is what happened to me." And this was about 4 or 5 years later. I've been suffering with this for about four
Oh,
or five
wow.
years.
A long
Yeah.
time.
And he said, "She has planted a succubus." I went,
Yeah, there
"What
you
the
go.
hell's that?" He goes, "This is what it is." And so he started doing some work with me, and it took a while. It took a good few months before I
Really?
felt, yeah, really,
Yeah, God, because you had it for so long.
yeah. And that was my very first experience of something of that nature. So whenever I've encountered anything like that, and since then, I go, "Okay, I know what this is," and I know to get onto it, to deal with it. But it is rare these days. But as I say, Vietnam, it just totally took me by surprise.
Yeah, but that's an incredible place that you went to. Like, gosh,
Oh,
that's far
horrible.
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 Like skulls and
Yeah, no, it was
gosh, you had it
gruesome.
all happening there. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could just feel and sense the darkness as you were talking about it.
yeah, yeah.
You
No, it was
really
gruesome.
see places like that should be really, those skulls somehow buried and the place just cleansed and blessed. And that's what it needs, all the monks to go there, pray, chant, and, put everything to rest.
I
And
agree.
within those environments, there's probably a lot of lost souls in there that are still reliving, their torture and their death over and over
I
again.
agree. Yeah,
Because, yeah, it's full of lost souls, guarantee. Yeah, I feel it.
yeah,
So the best thing that could happen there, rather than making it, like an adventurous kind of,
mm,
place to go and look at the torture and energy of the past, which is horrible.
yeah.
I'm so not into all these sort of, um, ghost tours and all of
No,
that.
me
But
neither.
I don't like them because they're not healthy. See, environments like that, all of that should be buried, put to rest, and
Yeah,
get a whole lot of monks coming in, blessing, chanting, praying, and let the souls go. You know, that would
I
help
agree.
all the trapped
Well, it's
souls to
interesting
go
that
to
that
return to
place
God.
at the killing fields themselves,
Oh,
which was actually
God.
an old Chinese cemetery. The atmosphere there was so heavy, and all the trees looked like they were half dead,
Yeah, because
and
their life
the
force. Well,
grass was,
trees have a life force, so
yeah,
their
like
life
the
force.
place was just
How
dense.
sad. Yeah,
Yeah,
really dead. Yeah, see those poor trees, the grass, all their life force is being eaten up by all the demonic entities and the lost souls and the ah,
yeah, I
it's a
couldn't wait to go
shame.
there. Actually.
No, I'm
Yeah.
sure you won't be going back there again. Hey,
I might go back to Vietnam at all. I said to the guys, I'm done with it.
really?
It's off the
Yeah,
bucket list. I don't want to go there again.
fair enough. Yeah.
Maybe don't go anywhere that's called a genocide museum as well.
Well,
Maybe
that's a good call. Absolutely. That says it all, doesn't
it does.
it?
Are you gonna go and see the what's that Egyptian? There's an Egyptian
Well, the
thing.
pharaohs.
The pharaohs. Yeah, you're gonna go to that?
Well, it's interesting. We were, my partner and myself, we were going to go to Canberra
Mm.
this weekend, but
It's at the museum in Sydney, though.
oh yeah, but it's also in Canberra, and
Okay.
my friend's wife got COVID. This was Monday of last week, and
Yeah.
he rings me and says, "Oh, Annie's got COVID." I said, "Well, look, see how she feels by Thursday. You know, it might be all over by then." Get a call Thursday. No, still very sick. I went, "That's fine. I had other stuff to do. Won't go."
Not meant to.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So
Now, look, I do want to go and see that, but again, I think we'd need the protection. Maybe we can have a little group and all go together.
yeah, yeah, good
Like to
call.
see that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
would. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sort of the energy there too. But yeah, that's it's just so tragic that these places, still exist where they could be put to peace and rest.
yeah. Well, I think that the place in Phnom Penh, which was the Genocide Museum, um, I reckon just bulldoze it.
Yeah.
It's just, oh yeah, no, it's horrible.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, they all need a blessing, a clearing, and
totally.
yeah, just putting it all to peace and rest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think the people that want to go there and see that, and they have, guides taking you around. It's sort of, I think it reinforces it because it's bringing all
Well,
that
it
stuff up.
does. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course it does. You are reinforcing that energy over and over and over again.
yeah, yeah.
mm. And
And
it's funny,
the vibe in the place was horrible.
funny you should mention the pharaohs and Egyptians, Kat. It's just made me remember. I spoke to someone once who'd been to Egypt, and they'd been in one of the famous
Yeah.
pyramids there. And she said that at a certain point, I can't remember precisely what she said, but she said at a certain point, she just felt this really strong energy of something wanted them to get out. Like, you
Yeah.
are not welcome here, get out. Whether she heard it say get out or she felt it, but she was just like, she got to a point where she's like, we're not welcome here. We have to leave. We have to leave. We
Mm,
have to get out. And I mean, it's the same
Yeah.
kind of deal, right?
You're
It's like,
absolutely entering another dimension when you go into places like that,
yeah,
and that's what happened to you, Patrick. You entered into another dimension, a really low dimension. Same with the
yeah.
pyramids, James. You're
I
just
mean,
walking into
yeah. I mean,
another dimension.
how I feel it is, I just feel it as a heaviness. Like it's almost like you can
Yeah,
cut the
because
atmosphere with a knife.
it's
It's very
yeah,
dense.
dense.
Yeah, dense and heavy. That's
Dense
how
and
I
heavy.
perceive it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how I feel when I go like somewhere like that. Yeah, I could.
yeah.
Yeah, Jesus.
yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Well, strike that one off the holiday list. And
Oh, totally. In
We
fact, don't ride a
totally.
motorbike in Vietnam either.
all
Take your
right.
life
Yeah.
in your
Oh,
hands every 5 seconds.
Oh, you poor thing.
wind up in your own tomb.
You've always had so many adventures. You've had the most. I've got to like Patrick. Your shenanigans have been another level. I'm so every time uh,
I
Patrick
thought it was getting old and boring.
no, you're starting up again. But honestly, every time you'd make an appointment, I mean, you've been quiet. You've been good for a few years now. But I would look forward to because it'd be endless. stories and shenanigans with
Yeah.
Patrick.
Oh yeah. Tell you what, my friends, they rip me all. I got to
They
tell you a story.
would
Okay.
tell us.
This is going back quite a long time ago, and I was with Crazy Caroline. And I said, right, I've broken up with her. Right, it's done. And I said, look, just to prove it, I said, there's 6 of these guys, right? I said, if I get back with her, I'll buy each of you a bottle of Verve, right? And Verve's about $85 a bottle.
I know.
About a month later, I turn up with a 6-pack of Verve. I go, sorry guys. They go, we love you. I go, yeah, but my bank balance doesn't. It wasn't long after that I finally did cut the cord, but yeah, 6 bottles of Verve. I thought that'd be enough incentive for me not to go back.
Well, whilst you're there, like, we'd like to have you back to talk about your love life, because it is hilarious. He did get better as the years progressed, but oh my gosh, when I first met Patrick and he was telling me about his, I could not. I was just couldn't stop laughing. I'd like, why do you do this to yourself?
Yeah, I asked myself the same question.
Yeah.
No, these
so
days
fun.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Now he's in a good space now. Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much,
That's
Patrick,
all right.
for sharing your story with us.
And let's hope that's the end of succubuses and other evil things attaching themselves to you. That sounds like
I'd say so. Well, if I do get that sort of stuff, I know what to do. I just go and see Caterina.
It's called vacuum cleaner for demons.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
The demon vacuum cleaner.
Thank God for
Yeah,
you.
that's the one.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Caterina.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Patrick. It's been such an honor to have you on.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Okay. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
To gain access to private spiritual development classes, guided meditations, and live Q&As with Caterina, please visit www.patreon, that's patreon.com/The Australian Ghost Whisperer.